Rumors are swirling around Kenny Dillingham and Auburn.
Dilly.
Yes.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping it up with the Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend, hanging out with us on today's show. Is Auburn basketball okay? Are we panicking? That's coming up, as well as Auburn's practice yesterday. Some interesting notes, especially involving the quarterback. But let's start with what everybody wants to talk about, and it's any sort of inkling of information regarding who's Auburn's next head coach is going to be. And Darrell, there are rumors and kind of some like light reporting from several different places, different parts of the country geographically. People of different status as far as insiders, as far as boosters, as far as former players. The Kenny Dillingham leaving Arizona State and going to Auburn, I think there's some legs here.
I do. I want to set this up so we get the whole concept. I want to preface this by saying that I'm talking about this as not endorsing a particular candidate. I'm not saying this is who it's going to happen or this is who I want. I will say this. I'm really in a place where the three names that we've heard the most chatter about, I'm excited just that I feel good about all three. If it's Sumrall, if it's Durkin, or if it's Dillingham, I think that's a good place to be. I'm really comfortable and and that's refreshing. You know, that really is. So the Dillingham stuff, and why I think it's important to touch on it is right away there was this narrative. A lot of times there's these false narratives that come out immediately about things, seemingly lately about Auburn, that people want to kind of lock hold of. And that is, I love Dillingham. It was early on. He was one of the first choices I had. I had conversations with you about it. I said, I hope Auburn pursues. And there was this opinion that he wouldn't even listen. There is a narrative out there by people that think he wouldn't listen. He's happy.
I thought that too.
Okay.
I thought that Arizona State, it felt like he was home. And now we're hearing that may not be true.
And that's the first reason. He's from there. He's home. He just got a raise. That narrative that it's easier to get to the playoffs with the Big 12. Well, that is a little bit untrue. That I feel pretty confident from some people that he is listening, that he is considering. That means Auburn's reached out if that's the case, and he is listening. I think this whole take that why would he leave Arizona State when it's his home? Well, I would counter with that. If you are a competitor, and he is a competitor, and you have an ego,
yes,
you want a coach where there's better NIL, better resources, better facilities, better fan base, and in the best conference in America. Auburn checks all those boxes. For those that say, no, it doesn't, that's naive. Arizona State is a great place, okay? It's a beautiful campus. They got wonderful students. If you want to shoot a reality show there about college students, go there. But if you really, really want to reach the pinnacle, of the coaching profession and, basically see what you have, what you're made of and your makeup, and if you have what it takes to coach with the big boys, you leave Arizona State and go somewhere else. I'm sorry. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's the first point. I'll let you respond to that, and then I got more.
Yeah, I think Auburn is a better job than Arizona State. I do. I think you have more resources. I think you have more money. I think you have a better history. I think you've got better fans. I think you've got a more passionate fan base. And then obviously you get to say you're competing at the highest level. Well, 100%. I think you nailed all of that. I don't really have anything else to add.
So the second thing of that is I've heard some takes that, again, no one knows the resources that Arizona State has. They're up and coming. So look, I've lived there. Okay. I'm not an expert on anything. I've lived there. I've attended games there. I've had classmates and teammates play at Arizona State. Okay. I know what the fan base is like. I know when Arizona State's 3-9, If Arizona State goes into a game 3-4 like Auburn did, they have 30,000 seats, 30,000 fans in Sun Devil Stadium. They just do. And that stadium is got a lot of wear and tear on it. It's got some age. The facilities, again, fan bases are a little apathetic there when they're not winning. So the support and the NIL and the resources, definitely. So again, I'm not just saying that because I'm guessing. I think even though it was a while ago, still being connected to some people that were played there, it's not the same. It's a great place. It's beautiful.
Well, and there's another element to this too, right? Like, sure, Kenny Dillingham has to think, okay, even though this is home, I want to go to Auburn. And, whether it's more money, whether it's being able to pay his staff more money, whether it's being able to pay the players more money, whatever, he's still got to make that decision. And so then the question is, okay, he was here in 2019. He was here under Gus Malzahn. What was that experience like? I put up a social media video earlier in the week, and it prompted a former player that I hadn't talked to in years to reach out and text me. He played for Dillingham, and we went back and forth for a little bit, but he loves the guy. I mean, the amount of respect that it sounds like he has garnered from the players and his role, like, I remember when he was here, there was kind of questions on, like, what's he even doing here? He can't call plays, like, what's going on? But just this player kind of went on and on and on about how impressive it was as far as attention to detail, as far as systems, as far as, nobody on the offensive staff worked harder than him. I mean, he went on and on and on. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. It'd be an awesome hire. Would he leave? And he said, they loved it here. Sounds like they've kept in touch over the years, and Auburn has been a place that they've talked about. I think Auburn left an impression. I think he caught the boog, maybe. But I think he'd be okay coming here based on that conversation. That's one of the many things that are kind of circling around this, where it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Obviously, I'm not saying that, I'm not reporting that, they've reached, whatever level of contract discussions. But I do think when you hear all of these different things that are going on, there's been other beat writers that have hinted at it on different shows. But there's also like the betting odds. The betting odds have him as the odds-on favorite, which they're wrong a lot on this stuff, but it's still interesting. It's all of these different things where, like, okay, there is smoke. And I think there's fire. Mm-hmm. Is it this massive bonfire, or is it just something where the kindling is caught? I don't know. But I do think there is something here to this.
I think there's some great points there. First of all, I wouldn't say, I think you make a good point. I'm not even saying he's the leader in the clubhouse, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's being considered, and I think he is considering. That's a little bit further down the road than we were with this a week ago. Okay. So I would just say, don't be dismissive about him being a serious candidate. Second of all, the point of reference you made is an excellent one. If you've never been to Auburn and you've never coached here, you've never been part of the Auburn community, maybe you don't leave Arizona State to come to Auburn, but he does know what it's like. So this whole leaving home thing, he may say, I've been there. It felt like home. I loved it there. A lot of people, and I know this is hard for people in other fan bases to wrap their head around, a lot of people fall in love with Auburn when they come coach here, the community. So that is important that he's already experienced that. And the third thing, when is the last time Auburn had what you would consider a successful season, a really good season? Give me the year.
17, but 2019 was pretty good.
Who was the offensive coordinator in 2019?
It was Dillingham.
Who was his quarterback?
Bo Nix.
Keep going.
Keep going. What did he do next? What did he do next? What did Bo Nix do next at Oregon? Yeah, he went to Oregon, and Dillingham was a huge part of it. There it is.
Go talk to Bo Nix and see what he thinks about Kenny Dillingham. Go talk to Pat Nix and think what he thinks about Dillingham.
I don't think we have to. I think actions there speak much louder than anything he would say. So, so there's one other thing, and then we'll get to practice. This chatter has Bama fans like chiming in, saying, oh, he would never go to Auburn. He would never go to Auburn. And I think that's something where it's like, we kind of heard this when the Lane Kiffin chatter happened this last time, where they start to be like, that'd be a really good hire. I think that says something.
I think it absolutely does. When you start seeing people protest too much and push back and act a little bit defensive, they'd never go there. He'd never go there. There's something in that. We never heard that when they hired Harsin and when Hugh got hired, although, I do believe that there's some honest Alabama fans felt like Hugh Freeze could have been a problem with recruiting and all that, because they,
early on when the recruiting stuff happens and all the flips were happening, it was like, uh-oh.
So, but anytime you see a pushback like that, that's something worth noting.
That's right. That's right. All right. We may have got a glimpse on who's the favorite to be starting at quarterback on Saturday. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. I can't imagine wagering anywhere else. Hey, since we last spoke, the line opened as Auburn as a 7.5-point underdog against Vandy. It shifted Auburn's favor a little bit, 6.5. I think this is the perfect line for this game. It's like, all right, touchdown game. That's it. Can Auburn keep it within a touchdown as far as Vegas goes? I think Auburn's got the defense to certainly do this. But I'm still taking the under. I think the over-under is like 44.5. I think I'm still taking the under on this one, Darrell.
Yeah, I mean, lately, just any of the games that Auburn's been in, that's been really, really kind of plotting under the under and kind of grinded out games. So I agree.
Yep. Head over to our friends at FanDuel right now. New customers get $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. It's the best place to buy Auburn gear. Darrell, they've got 3 great physical locations in Auburn, Opelika, and Huntsville. You're one of the few that's been to all 3.
I really have. That's kind of like a
trifecta of Alumni
Hall. A sacred journey, right? I've been to all 3. Yeah. Pilgrimage was the word I was looking for. Thank you for pulling it out of my head.
You're welcome. You're welcome. They've got everything you could ask for. I love all the different ages. Like, there's something for my entire family there. Stuff for your pets. They've got stuff for your tailgate, stuff for your walls, your office. They've got everything in the world you could possibly imagine with Auburn. And look, if you got an Auburn fan in your life, which if you're listening to this, you do, Christmas is going to be here before you know it. So head over to Alumni Hall and go ahead and get a jump start on all of that. And of course, online at alumnihall.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Some practice notes coming out from yesterday. And to me, the biggest takeaway is when the starters went in first during this viewing window, Ashton Daniels appeared to be going in first among the quarterbacks. Darrell, I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from what was seen yesterday.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Maybe there were some things that he could have done last Saturday had he been unleashed a little bit or untethered, and maybe to his skill set or his strengths. Derek Nix knows that, and so they want to run him out there and see what he could do a little bit with some more freedom and some more different types of play calling. We'll see. We'll know, right? We'll know if there's passes thrown where you're trying to hit the receiver while he's moving forward, or if deep shots. Well, look, everyone's been piling on Freeze. I'm not doing that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just stating facts about a play call. I think that I get really frustrated when I see the bubble screens and all the screens behind the line of scrimmage. And for years, it looks like Auburn is just unwilling to throw a slant, and throwing a slant when the receiver is actually moving towards the goal line would be just like watching Christmas carols. It would just be
and I want to be clear, like, I think you're fine with the bubble screens as part of the offense, but that doesn't need to be the majority of the passing game.
Right. I think you and me talked about the post-game show. You made the statement, I'd love to see our receivers getting thrown to while they're on the move. And that's just something that hasn't been there. The route trees, that kind of thing. So middle of the field, maybe those types of things are now being opened up. Who knows?
Yeah, there's an element of this that I don't think we've really discussed, maybe hinted at, but this could be a cool opportunity for Derek Nix, I don't know Derek Nix personally, but it sounds like a lot of people really like him and is an awesome human being, which is great. I don't know if he's really been able to like succeed here. I mean, he was under Freeze, and then under Kiffin, obviously at Ole Miss, and then obviously under Freeze here. this is probably like the first time in his career where like, hey, this is your offense. What a cool opportunity that he has. And he knows that. I'm sure he's excited at this opportunity. Yeah, I know he's close to Hugh and he hates it for Hugh, but this offense is about him right now. And I think that's a pretty cool opportunity for him.
I think it's fun for the fans. It's a reset in an otherwise dark and doldrum last couple of weeks where there's at least newness, freshness. You're going to see something different. Now, whether it works or not, we don't know. It could be have the same success rate the other stuff has. At that point, then it would have to be execution. But I think it's fun to kind of look and see watch someone grow and the difference of it. And it's just the unknown is kind of exciting.
Right. Injuries, Camp Anthony on crutches.
Mm-hmm.
Hate that for him. Obviously got hurt last year, missed most of last year. He's been awesome when healthy, but has not been able to stay healthy, which stinks. And I'm sure some of it's just because he plays so hard because that's just the type of player that he is.
Throws his body around. I also heard, I don't think Elijah Melendez practiced.
Right.
So those are two big parts of the defense that has been so stellar. We'll see what that means come Saturday.
There was nothing on Cam Coleman's ankle, if I read that correctly.
Right. I saw that. I read that, which is good. That's a really good recovery because when he went off the field 2 weeks ago, Zach, that looked like that was going to be a long-term deal, like at least a month. You know, when you see that kind of thing and you can't put weight on it.
The fact that there's nothing, like they feel pretty good about it.
And he came back in the game, which kind of should have led itself for me to think it wasn't as serious. But that's good. And if he gets that speed back, especially if Nix is calling some plays and dialing up some things, you want all the tools in the tool belt.
They went to him over and over and over. It was just, 4-yard curls. It wasn't anything stretching the field, but was that possibly why they were doing that? I can't imagine that was why, but just trying to give them some sort of credit here.
You just brought up something that just enrages me it reminded me.
Oh no.
Watching that game from up top on those 4-yard curls, Kentucky almost looked like they knew it was coming and jumped that route every single time. And if Coleman didn't shake free for 2 or 3 more yards, that's the most he was getting. Why you don't pump that? And just, I would do that with a Nerf when I was in 7th grade out in the cul-de-sac, and the car is the touchdown. I don't get that. You see it over and over. I've seen that play run 3 or 4 times where you're setting up, right? Okay, we're setting it up.
Yeah.
Just never went to it.
Yeah, and especially if they're going to be that aggressive, because the argument is, well, he didn't have time. I mean, yeah, maybe you can still throw it quick. You can still do that and throw it quick. So, and also, I mean, you can have max protection. You can roll him out if you.
Well, they had max protection
on the pocket. Like there are things you could have done in that situation. And once again, it goes back to what John Cohen said on Monday, where like, I think he was asked, like, was there a point or whatever? And he talked about the inefficiencies in offense, especially in the fourth quarter, where like in the fourth quarter, when you have had 3 points all game, like be desperate to score. And they weren't. They're just fine with the same stuff. And so that's the kind of thing where I'm like, what's the downside of saying, hey, Cam, go run it. Let's just see if you catch it. Yeah. Like, what's the downside at that point when you scored 3 points all game?
We've seen he can catch it in traffic.
He's almost better in traffic.
Yeah, tremendous body control and all that. So, I totally agree.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right, yeah, hopefully it's better this weekend. Against Vanderbilt. Also, hopefully Auburn basketball is better soon. Don't panic, but goodness, it was not very good. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets. It doesn't matter what it's for. Darrell, we all love our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. It doesn't matter if it's for a concert. It doesn't matter if it's for football or basketball or baseball, the theater. Game Time has you covered. It's the only place I use to buy tickets.
I agree. And it's I love the lightning deals, and I love seeing where you're going to sit. It's so very accurate. Gives a very good representation the realistic, of the vantage point that you're at.
Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Auburn needing overtime to beat Bethune-Cookman Monday night. 95-90 was the final, and the offense, there were several offensive performers that I think were solid. I think the main concern for most people is defensively. That's kind of been Stephen Pearl's bread and butter. Supposedly, he'd been kind of the, defensive coordinator of, a lot of these game plans. I'm put defensive coordinator in air quotes, of course, but I think that's an argument for it saying like it's going to get better. And I think the argument for like, oh no, there's actual concern here is like from a personnel standpoint, there's only so much you can do when you don't have the bigs that a lot of the teams are going to play this year are going to have.
All we can do to this point is give analysis on where we are to this point of the season. So I don't want anything to be misconstrued as what this team's ceiling could be, what its potential could be, what this is not a season outlook. I still feel like this team is a tournament team. I think they're very talented, and I still am 100% convinced that in January they're going to be a completely different team than they are now. I think up until that point, you're going to see a Jekyll and Hyde type scenario. There's going to be nights that they look like they did against Oklahoma State where they couldn't guard anybody. Then they come out against Memphis and cause 12 turnovers in 8 minutes. Last night, in a nutshell, only focusing on last night was not good. And if you take offense to that as an Auburn fan or take it personal, I'm sorry, it's not dogging the whole team or the coaching staff. Last night was not ideal as an opener. I get it that Bethune-Cookman is scrappy, and I will say this again. They shot it as good as any opposing team I've seen in a long time in Neville shoot it. It was unbelievable how good they shot the basketball. But if we take that and do a bird's eye view and say, although a very, very good SWAC team, they were playing without their best player in Dr. Bradley, which is one of the coolest names I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's great.
And so you shouldn't. I'm sorry. At home, if you're with that talent, with that NIL evaluated roster, it shouldn't go to overtime. It did. You found a way to win. Great. Now clean up why you got to that point. Well, I think there are 3 key factors. Number one, sometimes no matter how good you defend the perimeter, guys make shots. And Auburn was running out at these guys, and they were making deep, deep threes. Auburn missed a lot of free throws. That's not going to be something that I think is going to be commonplace. I don't think Auburn's going to shoot 26%, right? But the biggest thing is what you talked about. Yeah, from 3. The biggest thing is what you talked about. No matter what happens the rest of the year, I am extremely concerned with the interior post defense that Auburn is presenting. I'm telling you that guys that were 6'7", 6'8", all they did was muscle up Auburn's, front court, and they had what they wanted. They got what they just literally bodying up against them, and they would just go to the rim. And it was like Auburn offered up little resistance.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't really know what you can do with that. And some of it was communication. Like some of it, guys just got a free, backdoor cut over and over and over again. And so communication and being on the same page will fix some of that for sure. That's the stuff I'm not as concerned about. The stuff I'm really concerned about is, like you said, there's going to be a lot of teams in the SEC. There's going to be Houston. I mean, there's going to be a lot of these teams that we're about to play that are going to have dudes where I don't know if we're going to be able to stop them physically. I just don't. And so then it's like, all right, can you score with them? Or we're going to have to be able to shoot, 35, 40% from 3 on those nights and just hope that we can stay with them. Or go to the free throw line a ton, which I think we'll be able to do with Keyshawn Hall and Tahad, but that's going to have to be something that, get those guys in foul trouble. That's going to be part of this.
One of the things strategically that I realized as I was driving home last night that I think is important to note is that Auburn played a lot of 1-3-1 last night zone. And the 1-3-1 is designed to keep people from driving the basketball. By design, Zach, you've got 3 in the lane, you're plotting up the middle, and they can't drive it. But what the 1-3-1 does leave you susceptible to is backdoor cuts. You know why? Yeah. There's one dude back there. And if you screen him off ball, and that's what was happening. A forward would go and screen the one guy that was backdoor, and then another guy would roll in right behind him, layup. So that is something when you ask, what can you fix? Maybe you go more 2-3. And to Auburn's credit, when they went straight up man, they defended a lot better. Maybe you just say, we're going to press and we're going to play man and we're going to throw a lot of bodies at it because that's when we're at our best rather than being passive, sitting back in a 1-3-1. You will have to play some matchup zones when you get guys that can shoot. When you face those shooters, you're going to have to do that. But I do think strategically, after listening to some post-game stuff and observing with my eyes, the 1-3-1 was the most trouble that was caused for Auburn, and that might be something they want to stay out of if they got guys that can cut backdoor.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have the center.
Cardwell stayed back there and said, "Bring it." If they played a 1-3-1,
right? You don't have Dylan Cardwell's not on this team.
No, so you could get beat, and he was the eraser. He erased the mistakes. You could go backdoor. And first of all, he's tough to screen. He's difficult to screen. Dylan
Cardwell's starting for an NBA team right now.
He did, yeah. And so he was back there, and even if you got to that spot, he was the great equalizer, the great eraser. And you had Chaney and Broom. I mean, it's just a different.
It's a good team. Like last year's team was really, really good.
You may have to go man, use your quickness, your tenaciousness, ferocity to cause turnovers, to be difficult, to be difficult to, control the ball against. And that's what happened against Memphis. Auburn did a lot of reaching, a lot of stripping, a lot of hands in the passing lanes, and they were a lot more effective. That's what you probably have to do, is play a lot of man that's, very, very aggressive.
What'd you think of Stephen Pearl's comment of Auburn fans are tired of being patient, being told to be patient, so we're not going to do that. We're going to go in there and work our tails off. What'd you think of him? What we assume is taking a little bit of a shot at Freeze there.
I didn't like it at all. I don't think that's what one of the things that his father promoted was community amongst Auburn and a fraternity amongst the coaches. I don't like taking a shot at somebody on the way out. And I will just say this. I love Stephen Pearl. I hope he does well. You just got taken to overtime by a SWAC team. You might need to sit that one out and not take a shot at a coach on his way out the door. I don't think that's very becoming of somebody in his first game. Yeah.
Yeah. I do like saying, hey, we're going to go in there and get after it. But
I like that part. But this whole patience thing, and we're so close. It's played out. Let's move on. I get it. It's frustrating. I hated hearing it. I made an audible sigh in the press conference that I thought was going to get me in trouble when he said it Saturday after the game. But I don't think that's a good look. And I bet you Bruce Pearl probably said, don't do that. We don't do that. Bruce Pearl was at everything. It was so very pro Auburn and supported all the coaches. He would have never, even Harsin, Bruce Pearl never took a shot at Harsin on the way out with some of the things he did, right? Yeah. So just don't do that. It's just not a good look. Again, I'm not trying to beat up on Steven. He's young. He'll learn. He was trying to be funny. I don't think he meant it to he did not mean it to hurt Hugh Freeze's feelings or to throw shade at Hugh. He meant it to be funny as a play on that and to be endearing to the Auburn family, but just read the room.
Yeah, because the truth of the answer is, hey, it's game one. It's a brand new roster. It's going to take us a second, which you could say like, oh, you're asking us to be patient, which in this context isn't a crazy thing to say. We talked about that when we went live right after. So that probably went through across his brain. He's like, I'm not going to do that. The other guy just did that a bunch and it was not a good thing. So we're just going to go work in there and fix it. Like that's the message and it's fine, but it did turn into a shot. And then, So, all right, Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, Dap6410, Wednesdays and Fridays with you. Saturday night, I'll be at Vanderbilt State Memorial Stadium covering the game for Locked on Auburn in the barn. And then we'll do our show that drops Sunday morning to kind of a reaction deal.
Yep. So much stuff going on. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're tuning in on audio or video, please, please, please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.